Welcome back to Process Cast with Mark Anderson and Samantha Blake, your go-to podcast for insights into business process management and the technologies transforming the way we work. In this episode, Samantha and Mark dive into a business process you can import into your HEFLO account for free. Click the link in the description to get it.
You know how sometimes you think about wanting something and then magically it kind of happens?
Like, how does that even work?
Yeah, like what are all those behind the scenes things that have to happen to get from just thinking about it to actually having it?
Right. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on how that happens for one very specific thing.
We're going to look at how an initial interest turns into an actual signed agreement.
And to do that, we've got access to some internal documents that lay out this whole process step by step.
So it's kind of like a roadmap from that first spark of curiosity all the way to that dotted line.
And knowing how this works, it can be really helpful.
Whether you're the one who's interested in something or the one who's providing it.
It gives you a better understanding of how things really get done and how needs get met and agreements get made.
So let's start at the very beginning. Someone shows interest, they fill out a form, or click a link, or send an email. What happens next? What happens after that first contact?
So that's where the SDRs come in.
SDRs?
Yeah, sales development representatives, they're kind of like the front line.
Okay, so they're the ones who respond to that initial interest.
Exactly. And their job at this point isn't just to say, hi, thanks for reaching out.
It's more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They need to make sure the person understands what's being offered.
And that there's an agreement on what the next step should be.
You got it.
It's interesting how some people just have that knack for asking the right questions.
Oh, absolutely. Like they can quickly figure out if someone's really interested or just kind of browsing.
So it's more strategic than just a standard response.
For sure. It's about figuring out if there's real potential there.
Makes you wonder, like what goes on behind the scenes after you click that contact us button, right?
Right. And that brings us to what happens next, a phase called qualification.
Qualification.
Yeah.
Sounds serious.
It is. This is where things get real. It's where we figure out if there's a true fit.
Fit. Like a puzzle piece.
Kind of, yeah. Like, does the customer actually have a need for what's being offered?
And do they see the value in it?
Exactly. And can they afford it? Do they have a budget for this kind of thing?
And are we talking to the right person?
Yes. Someone who can actually make the decision.
Okay, so a lot has to line up for it to be a good fit.
Absolutely. And the SDRs, they're responsible for figuring all of this out.
Wow, that's a lot on their plate.
It is. It's a critical part of the process.
So many things have to fall into place before you even think about moving forward.
Yeah, it's amazing how often we find that something's missing at this stage.
So let's say we've made it through qualification. There's a need, a budget, we're talking to the decision maker. What's next?
All right, well, now it's time for a formal proposal.
Ah, so that's where the account executives step in.
That's right. They're the ones who put together the official document outlining the solution.
Including the contract details and everything?
Yep, everything.
So at this point, you'd think everything's pretty much smooth sailing, right?
You'd think so. But it's funny, even when there are, maybe some red flags.
Red flags.
Yeah, like maybe some things that aren't quite perfect. Even then, we often see that the client will give a verbal commitment.
A verbal commitment.
Okay.
So they say yes, but it's not official yet.
Exactly. It means they're serious about moving forward, but there are still details to iron out.
Like what?
Well, the exact contract terms, the specifics of how the solution will be delivered, the payment schedule, all that stuff.
I see. So there's still a chance things could fall apart.
It's possible, yeah. It's like saying you'll buy a house after just one viewing. You still have to agree on the price, do the inspection, things like that.
Yeah, makes sense. You might think you're all set, and then something comes up.
That's life. So that's why the next phase is so important.
Which is?
Negotiation.
Ah, so that's where all the nitty-gritty gets hammered out.
That's it. Both sides really dig in and make sure they're aligned on everything.
The price, the contract terms, the service levels, the timeline, all of it.
Everything. It's about finding that sweet spot where everyone feels good about the deal.
It's like a dance, right?
It is. It really is. You want to get to a signed agreement, but you also want to build a strong relationship.
It's about trust, too, right?
Absolutely. You're setting the stage for a successful partnership.
It makes you think about what's really important in any agreement.
What are those non-negotiables for you?
Yeah, what are those things you absolutely have to have in place to feel comfortable moving forward?
Exactly.
Now, what happens if things don't go as planned? What if, after all that, an agreement isn't reached?
Well, it's not the end of the world. In fact, it can be a valuable learning experience.
How so?
Well, there's a step called document lessons learned.
So even if you don't win the deal, you still take something away from it.
Exactly. The account executive will write down all the reasons why the deal fell through.
Like what?
Well, the prospect's objections, anything that wasn't met, maybe there were competitors in the picture, or maybe even internal challenges on our side.
So it's a chance to figure out what went wrong.
And what went right, too. They'll also note what worked well, so we can do more of that in the future.
That's smart.
It's all about continuous improvement.
It's amazing how much you can learn from things not working out the way you hoped.
Right. And it doesn't stop there.
There's more.
Yeah. We also communicate lessons learned.
So those notes don't just sit in a drawer somewhere.
Nope. They get shared with the whole sales team.
So everyone can benefit from the experience.
Exactly. It helps everyone get better at what they do.
Okay, let's go back to the scenario where we do reach an agreement. What happens after that?
Well, then it's time to make it official. That's the contract elaboration phase.
So this is where the verbal agreement turns into a legally binding contract.
That's right. And the account executives, they take the lead on this too.
So they basically write up the contract.
Well, it's a bit more involved than that. They work closely with our legal team, finance, and anyone else who needs to be involved.
To make sure everything is correct and legal.
Exactly. The contract has to be clear, accurate, and compliant with all the rules and regulations.
I bet that's a lot of details to keep track of.
It is, but it's crucial. The contract spells out everything. The price, the scope of work, the timelines, who's responsible for what, everything.
So there's no room for confusion later on.
Exactly. It protects everyone involved.
Makes you think about what you should be looking for in any contract before you sign it.
Right. What are those key details that matter most to you?
Yeah, what are those things that you absolutely need to see in black and white?
It's about knowing your rights and responsibilities.
Okay, so we've got a signed contract. Everyone's happy. That's it, right? We're done.
Not quite. There's one more important step. Monitor the delivery.
So even after the deal is signed, the account executive is still involved.
They are, yeah. They make sure the transition into the delivery phase goes smoothly.
So they're not actually doing the work, but they're overseeing it.
That's a good way to put it. They stay in touch with the team who's doing the work, they track progress, and they make sure the client is happy.
So they're like the customer's advocate.
In a way, yeah. They want to make sure the client gets what they were promised.
It sounds like it's all about maintaining that trust and building a strong relationship.
It is. A good delivery experience can lead to more business down the road.
Like upselling or referrals?
Exactly. It's all connected.
Makes you realize how important follow-through is.
It's huge. It's what separates the good from the great.
Okay, you've mentioned sales development representatives and account executives a lot. Can you clarify their roles one more time?
Sure. So the SDRs, they're the first point of contact.
They're the ones who find and qualify the leads.
Right. And once they've found a good potential customer, they pass it on to the account executive,
who then takes it from there and works to close the deal.
Yep, that's the gist of it. They handle the proposal, the negotiation, the contract, the whole 9 yards.
It's like a relay race.
Kind of, yeah. Everyone has their part to play.
So when we look at the entire journey, from that first spark of interest to the final delivery,
it's really a carefully designed process,
with each step building on the one before it.
Starting with that initial contact, then figuring out if there's a good fit, then presenting the solution.
Negotiating the terms, signing the contract, and making sure everything's delivered as promised.
Exactly. And this whole structured approach, it's all about maximizing success.
For both the customer and the provider.
Absolutely. It makes things more efficient, it strengthens relationships, and it increases the chances of a positive outcome for everyone.
It's really eye-opening to see how much thought and strategy goes into something that might seem like a simple transaction. And understanding these steps, it can really give you an edge.
Whether you're the one buying or the one selling.
So next time you're thinking about getting something, anything really,
think about those invisible steps that have to happen to make it a reality.
And who knows, you might even find yourself applying some of these principles to other areas of your life.
Because it's all about understanding the process, the journey, from that initial interest to the final agreement.
And who knows, maybe you'll even find yourself closing a few more deals along the way.
Thank you for listening to ProcessCast. This episode was brought to you by HEFLO, the BPM platform that empowers businesses to document, automate, and optimize their processes with AI. Experience the intelligence to simplify complex business processes and accelerate your growth with our complete management solution. Visit HEFLO.com to learn more. Be sure to follow ProcessCast for more insights on business process management, and don't forget to share this episode with your network. Until next time.